very young freshman member of the class in a district that was pretty Republican, that you flipped.
Yep.
And you were in one of those kind of frontline 40 seats or so, 40, 45 seats, where the kind of weather vane of the caucus.
Yep.
What do you think about the politics as you think about your district, what you would be doing, as you thought about impeachment particularly? Where do you think this shakes out? Do you think those frontline members are sweating this? Do you think they feel pretty confident about this?
I can't speak for everybody, but I have spoken to a lot of my former colleagues, and I think that we were expecting it to get to this point one way or another, right? The grievances were so severe, and the breaches of conduct were so severe, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And so finally, when the Ukraine phone call happened, it was like, look, we thought it was going to come to this point, and we didn't want it to, but like, we can't let this go any further, because at a certain point, what are we there for? If we can't provide a check and balance, then what are we there for? And so I think you had a lot of people, and Elaine Luria did an incredible video about this, that said we weren't politicians who went there to say, I need to be in power, I need to become a member of Congress. Most of us weren't even considering running for office until after Donald Trump became elected. So the notion that we have to do something just to stay in office is totally off base. So the decisions that are being made are like, is this consistent with the oath of office that I took? Is this consistent with my values? And is this consistent with what I think is right for our country and the precedent that is being set for generations to come? So I don't think for most people it is a hard decision at this point. I think what's harder is making sure that the narrative, the false narrative that the Republicans are trying to make and are very effective, unfortunately, at making, doesn't overwhelm what we know are the facts. And, that's going to continue to be a challenge.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because I think there's an idea on the right, and I understand it to a certain point, which is like the Democrats wanted this from day one. And it's true, there were some members of the caucus that did. But my experience in talking to folks like yourself and talking to leadership is that basically wanted to do anything but impeach the president.
100%.
Really wanted to avoid doing it, and ultimately found themselves in a position of like, we can't let him essentially help rig the next election.
Right. And what I'll tell you is that most of us wanted to we wanted him to go away, right? Like I don't think there was anyone there that was like, gee, let's get Donald Trump elected for another 4 years. Right. But I think and we ran because of that, in large part, because we felt like there needed to be a check on the president and we needed to get rid of him in 2020. But I don't, for the most part, we didn't feel like impeaching him was A, going to work, B, was necessarily something that we wanted to put the country through and that we wanted to focus our time on, because we thought that it was important to prove to the people who elected us that we were going to work on the issues that they cared about, which was not overwhelmingly impeachment. It was overwhelmingly the cost of prescription drugs, the cost of housing, the day-to-day struggles that people are dealing with. And so when we were trying to maintain or conduct congressional oversight and fulfill our oath of office and do what we were sent there to do, but also at the same time actually legislate. And so for a long, long time, in the leadership, despite the pressure that they were getting from the left and the speaker was getting from the left of like, oh my God, this guy's a freaking criminal.
Right.
We have to impeach him, which is not wrong.
Right.
But balancing that with the 40 people who did come from these swing seats and who are trying to say, yeah, but like also, how are we going to move forward as a country? And then finally you hit a point where there's just no option anymore. And I think that, with the exception of one or two people, that's where we've all everyone on the Democratic side has come to terms with. And what I've been so shocked by and disappointed by is that I know Republicans my former colleagues that are Republicans also know that they are completely hypocritical to think that this is something that they would allow from a Democratic president, and that they are even remotely suggesting that this is something that is okay or right or normal in any shape or form, but they are willing to just completely brush that aside because of the cult that is Donald Trump and that has become the Republican Party.
Katie Hill, former Congresswoman, it's such a great pleasure to talk to you, and I really appreciate you coming through today.
Thank you so much.
Very much. Really. Do not go anywhere. Rachel Maddow is next.